Hi, this is Kevin, and welcome to my tutorial on how to submit a coding assignment in the IS430 course. So I put together a slide here, and uh, I have a list of things that you need to get done. So let's go through that. So first of all, we want to check that your work conforms to all of the assignment instructions. Okay, and what do they look like? Well, in the current semester, let's see if I can find my copy of the instructions for the current semester. It should be right here. Yeah. So the current semester is the summer of 2022, and these things may change over time, in which case you're going to want to refer to the instructions for the semester that you're in, right? So right now, the instructions for the Zell Chapter 1 coding assignment look like this, right? So again, before you hand in your work, this is a very detailed in a course. So you're going to want to make sure that you understand the instructions. I know something happened to me as a beginning programmer is I'd read the instructions, okay, and I get so enthusiastic about writing the program that maybe my idea about what the problem was I was trying to solve would change while I was writing the program, and I'd forget to go back and read the instructions again and make sure that I still was solving the problem as stated in the instructions. So please do that. You want to also make sure that every exercise that's marked as regular, that you submit it, okay, in order to qualify for the grading deal that I have for coding assignments. You have to make a good faith effort on all the regular exercises. So you're going to want to make sure that you did that. Okay? Um, if you want to score higher than 95 on the assignment, then you need to take a crack at the challenge exercise as well, because the regular exercises will get you to 95. It's only the challenge exercise that's going to get you between a 96, 97, 98, 99, or 100. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure that you did that. Okay. Um, I'm going to talk in a minute about the naming of things like files and directories, but there's instructions here about that as well. Okay, just going to want to make sure that the work that you've done conforms to the instructions. And especially in the beginning of the semester, rereading them at this point is a useful thing to do. Okay? All right, that's that. Now, the next thing I think you should do is review the grading rubric for this assignment to make sure that you have captured all the available points. Okay? So, again, you may have gotten so enthusiastic about this assignment that you forgot some things, right? So if you go down, let's find the grading rubric for this Zell chapter 1. Uh, Here we go. Maybe we want to make this a little bigger. Of course, I don't see how we're going to make it a little bigger. Maybe like this. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so again, the base points, if you hand something in, you're going to get that. The timeliness, you're going to want to make sure you submit it on time. Okay, file submitted. You want to make sure that you submit only one file. It should be a zip file. The name should conform to the requirements that are in the instructions. Okay. The contents of the zip file must be a proper PyCharm project. Okay. And the files, which at this point in the course are program files, .py files, well, they also ought to be properly named. Okay. So you can see that exercise 1 is a regular exercise. It's worth 11 points. The completeness talks about the things that need to be done. It must produce expected quantity of results. It must produce exact values expected. The results must be formatted as expected. Typically, the format that we're looking for is the one that you see in the instructions. And then we come down to the technique. So we typically have a list of all the good practices and rules that you need to follow. They're listed here. And we're expecting you to follow all of them in order to get all 12 of the points for technique. All right. So then exercise 2 is also a regular exercise. You're going to want to make a good faith effort on that in order to qualify for the grading deal. And exercise 3 is a challenge exercise. So if you have time and inclination and you want to score higher than a 95, well, then you're probably going to want to do this one, or at least take a try at it. Okay? And the final thing is an explanation down here at the bottom that in order to qualify for the grading deal on this, you have to show a good faith effort on all the regular exercises. Okay? So read through that. Okay. Make sure that you have included all files needed for testing, including starting files. Now, right now at this point in the semester where we're just beginning, I'm not handing out starter files. Starter files are typically data files, or they might be programs that we're going to import into our program. These are things that we're going to learn how to do as we go through the semester, right? But you ought to hand in all the files that are required to run a test of your project. Okay, so if I gave you starter files, okay, or I gave you some Python file that I want you to include in the project, okay, you have to include those in your project for us, because when we go to grade this thing, here's what we're going to do. We're going to download your work, we're going to open it, and we're going to start to test. We don't have time to be pulling in the data files or other Python files that I gave you to include in your project. We need to be able to test immediately. So you need to include all the files that are needed to test your work. Okay. You also want to check that the names of the programs, the files, the directories, and all those things are what they were supposed to be in the instructions. And we're just going to take a peek at my solution here to this first exercise, right? And you're going to see that I have followed the convention exactly for naming the directory that becomes the PyCharm project. It's very important to us when we're grading your work that we have your project properly named. When you misname your project, even by a character or two, or even by using capital characters instead of lowercase characters, it interferes with our grading workflow. That's why we set up the rules the way that we did. And the same for the names of the programs, right? So we want you to name your programs um, exactly as we tell you to do in the instructions. Now, one thing that I get questions about when people are working on submissions is they'll see a directory here. You can kind of see a gray dot idea directory, and that's because it begins with a period, so it's a hidden directory. And here on the Mac, if I would say I do Shift Command period, that hides the hidden files and directories. And if I do it again, we'll see them. And this is a metadata directory that should be there. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't, depending upon your settings. So don't be surprised if your settings are set such that you can see this .idea directory. And then you ought to have each of the Python files that I described. Later on, when we have data files that we're going to read and write, we're also going to have a subdirectory called data. Okay, and we're going to show you how to create that, and we're going to expect you to have that in your project. Okay, so this should look exactly the way that we would like, the way that we described it in the instructions. Okay. Okay. Now we want to upload just one properly named zip file to the Canvas submissions activity, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. So the question is going to be, how do we zip it? Okay, and the way that we zip it on the Mac and the way that we zip it on Windows are different. They're similar, but they're different. Okay, and then I have a couple of more things that I'm going to want you to do. Okay, but let's work on the zipping and submission right now. Okay, so here I've got my project. Okay, and I'm on the Mac, so I'm going to show you how to zip it on the Mac. So you highlight the directory name that is your project, and you right click, and you come down and you pick the compress option, and whoop, you have a zip file. Okay, that's pretty easy to do on the Mac. What if we were on Windows? What would that look like there? Well, here I've got my Windows virtual machine up. Okay, and in my documents folder, I've got the folder here. Okay, and how do I zip up a file on Windows? Well, I highlight the folder, I right click, and I say send to, and then compressed zipped folder. Okay, and now that's the folder. Okay, so in each case, it was pretty easy to get a zipped folder. Okay, now how do we submit to our Canvas assignment? All right, well, let me go find that. Okay, so here I am. Again, this is one of the sections I'm teaching in the summer. Okay, and the page is organized the way I typically organize the page. Now I'm currently set up as an instructor, so we're seeing the instructor view. So I'm going to click here and do the student view. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit more like what you would see. And the list of the assignment submission activities is down here under submit assignments. And the first one is going to be this chapter 1 coding assignment. So we're going to click on that. Okay. And then we're going to click on the button for start assignment. Okay. And it says that we're going to choose the file. Okay, so I'm going to choose the file. Okay, and my work was in ready to submit, so I'm just going to put it there. And there's my zip file, and I'm going to open it. Well, I'm going to click on open, but I'm not really going to open it. And then it's going to have that file. And then there's a button for submit assignment. And there, I've got it. Okay, so pretty good, right? And you can see that I have the assignment right here. There it is. Okay. Okay. And the way that you do this within your browser, if you're on Windows, is not significantly different. Okay. Now, are you done yet? No, you're not done. Okay, you've gotten down here through upload just one properly named zip file to the Canvas submission activity. Okay, you only get one submission, okay, up through the deadline for the assignment, okay? And resubmissions after the deadline are not permitted. Okay, now let's talk about two different scenarios. Scenario 1. You did your assignment early, right? You had time in the beginning of the week. You did it. Everything's fine. Okay, it's not due till the following Tuesday night. Okay, you happen to run into a friend and you're talking about the homework, and they say, "Oh, how about that one where we were supposed to do such and such?" And you get this kind of sinking feeling, and you go, "I don't think I did it that way." And so you talk for a while, and then you realize you missed something. Okay, can you resubmit? Yeah, you can resubmit all you want. Okay, as long as you resubmit before the deadline, it's not going to show up as being late. Okay, so let's say you're going to submit again. Okay, you would click on new attempt. Okay, and you would go and choose a file. And let's say you had already, changed it and zipped it and all that kind of stuff. So you just would put that there and click on open and click on submit assignment. Okay, and now it says it did that. Now, you'll notice that if you submit a second time, it puts a suffix on your file name. Okay, there's no way to prevent this. Okay, and even though we say that your file name has to be exactly what we say it is, we realize that if you make more than one submission, because you're correcting something for us before the deadline, you're automatically going to get this suffix. That's okay. There shouldn't be a markdown for that. Okay. Years ago, we used to use a system to submit our work, and if you wanted to resubmit before the deadline, you could get rid of the old file and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not the way Canvas is going to work. Okay. Okay. Now, uh, so resubmissions before the deadline are fine. Okay. We're not going to review the work until after the deadline. We're not going to grade the work until after the deadline. It won't be marked as late if you resubmit before the deadline. Everything's fine. Okay. And when we go to grade it, all we see is the last one that came in. Okay. And that's all you see when you go there too. All right. Now, what's the other meaning of resubmissions after the deadline are not permitted? Well, I've had people, other meaning, why is it important? It's not another meaning, I guess. I've had people who come back and say, oh, I accidentally submitted the wrong file. I submitted the work from the week before. I submitted this. I submitted that. Kind of my dog ate my homework. Okay. So I've included an instruction here that says, after you do your submission, okay, you're responsible for having submitted the proper file. So if you have any doubt that you permitted that you submitted the proper file, just download it. Okay. Well, how would you do that? Well, you download the file. You just come over here and you click download. Okay. And it downloads. All right. And now we're going to come over here. And, this is going to work essentially the same way on the Mac or Windows. It's going to download to your download folder or whatever you set up your browser to download to. That's where it's going to download. So now we've come to downloads. Well, in fact, let's do it again because I think this download was already here. So let's do this again. So let's click on the download, and you can see again we're getting a download. Okay, and pull that away, and there it is. Okay, and we can double click on it. And we can test it all we want. Okay, so it's up to you to confirm that you uploaded what was required. Okay, I'm not going to listen to excuses of I accidentally submitted the wrong thing. Nope, because, okay, one of the steps of your submission process, if you have any possibility that you made a mistake in submitting the wrong thing, I've included the step that you check it. Okay? And the reason you want to check it is you're not going to be able to come back later and say, oh, I accidentally submitted the wrong thing. Well, then you missed the check step. Okay? So this isn't that hard to do. Okay. I just wanted to have a how-to to answer some of the questions that come up. That's all I have for you. Good luck, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.